Hello, Sarah here from smallbusinesssarah.com, and today I'm going to show you how to do your Amazon bookkeeping if you're an Amazon seller, in QuickBooks Online. This should also work in other accounting programs, but my preference, I just love QuickBooks Online. This method does not require any apps, any integrations. It's quick, it's fast, it's easy, and it's accurate. You're going to tie to your Amazon 1099 perfectly at the end of the year. So let's get started on walking you through this method. So this method relies on inputting in the form of a journal entry, one journal entry that summarizes the monthly activity from Amazon. And we're going to use Amazon's monthly report for that entry. So if we started off on the home screen of Amazon Seller Central, we're going to go to Reports and then Payments. Then we're going to go to Date Range Reports. Then we're going to go to Generate Report. We want the summary and select whichever month you're doing and then hit Generate. So that report's going to generate. Then you can hit refresh down here to get the report and then download. Now, this particular account that I'm using hasn't sold on Amazon in a while, so I'm going to go and get another report where I've highlighted some stuff for you that has a lot of activity, so you can really understand the journal entry that we're putting together. So this is the report that you're going to download from Amazon. Now, our report is for the month of January of 2020, and let me walk you through this report. So we've got our income items here, our expense items over here, and this is any transfers, the total amount that Amazon moved to your bank account. Because as you know, when you sell on Amazon, you'll make a sale, but Amazon holds on to that money for a little bit before they transfer it to your bank account. And that's one of the things that makes Amazon bookkeeping a tiny bit tricky if you're not sure what you're doing, because the deposits include sales less fees, and it's also a little bit tricky because of that lag. There's a lag in time between when you make a sale and when you get a deposit. So that's why using the Amazon summary for a month makes this process a lot easier, because we're using exactly the figures that Amazon is telling us, and we're kind of ignoring it on a per deposit basis. We're tying to Amazon on a monthly basis. And you'll understand a bit more as we go through this process. Now, you'll notice that I've highlighted a couple of things on this report. And that's because there's certain things, certain accounts that we want separated out in our journal entry so that our QuickBooks Profit and Loss reports have elements broken out separately. And that's going to allow us to tie to our 1099 at the end of the year really easily. I mean, you could just lump all of this stuff together, but then you're going to have a bear of a time understanding how your QuickBooks records tie to the 1099 you got from Amazon. Whereas if we just break this out now when we're doing our entry, we're going to tie to the penny, and it's going to be awesome. So follow along with me as I'm gathering the numbers for our journal entry. And what I would do is kind of, go through this process and jot down these numbers as you're doing your own summary at home. And then we'll head to the journal entry and input it there. Okay, so I tried to highlight this report and it didn't work super well. So I'm going to draw a little to help. The first thing, and I should also mention, we've already added these accounts that we need to QuickBooks in a prior video. That's the video about customizing your chart of accounts for an Amazon seller. I'll put a link in the description, but if you haven't done that yet, you probably want to take that step first and then come back here. Okay, so the first thing we want to break out is our product sales. Now, product sales, non-FBA versus FBA doesn't matter. So you'll see I've highlighted these two numbers, and those can be combined together. And when we add those together, they total $3,355.88. No, I'm sorry, and 45 cents. $3,355.45. So I'm jotting that down on my piece of paper. The next thing we're going to do are our refunds. And the refunds are right here and here. You can see that over here. Refunds, and we had sales, and sales was our first. And the refunds obviously total negative $27.94. In accounting speak, we're going to put these actually as credits in our journal entry and these actually as debits in our journal entry. So if you want to write that down, you might find that easier. So credit of this and debit of this. We're going to skip this temporarily. Let's do shipping now. So you can see shipping credits, shipping credit refunds. We're going to combine those together and they get their own line. So that's a credit of $11.81. The next would be gift wrap. You can see gift wrap credits, gift wrap credit refunds. If we had something there, we would add those together and they would either be debit or credit, whether they're negative or a credit. Most likely they'll be a credit. So we have 0 in this case. And the next is going to be, see these promotional rebates here. And that's these two lines. We're going to combine these together. And that totals $5.82 on the debit side. Okay? And the last thing we're going to do is just all of these little bits. So if you didn't use a number for sales, refunds, shipping, gift wrap, or promotional rebates, then it's going to fall in this other category. It's not stuff that we really need to see broken out separately in our financial statements, and it doesn't affect how easy it is to tie out to our 1099. So we would just add all of those together, and in our case, it's just the $9.39, and it's in the credit column, so we'll call it just other credits of $9.39, and it'll be in the credit column. So that would include like this little item here, these guys. You're not going to very often have values in these areas. But in case you do, I want you to have the tools that you need to do this entry. And then you would just put that in whichever column, once you add it, the debit or credit column, most likely credit. So to review, we've got our sales, and that totaled $3,355.45, and that's a credit. Refunds of $27.94, debit. Other credits, $9.39, and that's in the credit balance. $11.81, shipping, and that'll be a credit. Gift wrap was 0, and promotional rebates was a debit of $5.82. If you don't understand debits and credits for accounting, that's fine. You don't need to. All you have to do is follow this formula and replicate it with your data, and it doesn't matter if you don't understand the debits and credits of accounting. So let's go over here to the expenses. It doesn't matter as much what we break out in expenses, but some things that you might like to have broken out would be shipping, like your shipping costs that you get charged. So that's these 3 lines: shipping label, refunds, adjustments. And over here, that's these all together. And so that's a debit. And we do want that to be a debit in our entry of $208.62. And then advertising might be the other thing. So we've got advertising over here, and it's these numbers over here. So $27.38, also in the debit column. Then everything else can be added up. So $319 plus $185 minus $420. Don't forget to have that go in a different direction. That would be a minus $420. Plus $297 plus $912. Plus 84 cents. That is going to total $808.72. And you can check your math. Does $808.72 plus $27.38 plus $208.62 equal this? If it does, you've done your math correctly. If it doesn't, then you probably added one of these little bits wrong. And these are all just like the general selling fees, just various fees that Amazon charges to sell on their website. And so we're just lumping that all together as selling fees. Down here at the bottom, you probably will not have sales tax given to you to remit to your state. Amazon is pretty much required to collect and remit all sales tax. So the amount that they collected, less what they remitted or held, these two should tie out. And so if they do, then you don't have to worry about the sales tax number at all. If for some reason there was a balance here, then you would have to add sales tax to your journal entry as a credit, but that never happens. So you can pretty much ignore that down there. Okay, so this is our monthly summary report. It's going to feel confusing the first time, but once you do it a couple of times, it's going to be a breeze. And believe me, this is much easier than trying to figure out on a per deposit basis or paying $50 a month for some random app or integration, which just makes QuickBooks a lot more confusing, to be honest. Okay, so let's take this information and go back to QuickBooks. The first thing we need to do, you'll know that when you're using QuickBooks, one of the first things you do every month is categorize your transactions. So we're in banking, we're in our checking account, and we have to know how to categorize our Amazon deposits. So here is an Amazon deposit. And we're going to actually categorize it to Amazon Holding. Now, this is one of the accounts we added in the other video, in the chart of accounts video. Every deposit from Amazon, if it's related to your Amazon Seller Central, if it's a return of goods, this doesn't apply. But if it's deposits from Amazon, from your sales, so a couple times a month, that's going to be categorized to Amazon Holding. And I'll get to how that all works together at the end of the video. So once you've gone through and you've categorized all Amazon deposits to Amazon Holding, now we're ready to do our journal entry. So we're going to come up here to New, Journal Entry. And we're going to make the journal entry as of January, in our case, our report was for January of 2020. So I'm going to date my journal entry as of January 31st of 2020. Whatever month you're doing, I always choose to date my journal entry as of the end of the month. Just make sure your journal entry is dated for sometime in the month you're doing this entry for, if that makes sense. Okay, now we're going to compose our entry. And we wrote all these numbers down already. So first, let's find our Amazon sales account that we've already created. Here we go. Here's our Amazon income. We're going to go down till we get to our Amazon sales. And you'll know that we said that was $3,355.45 in the credit column. Now, we're going to go to refunds, Amazon refunds. And you'll notice that QuickBooks filled in that number for us. That's because in accounting, debits and credits always have to agree. You don't need to know why. It's just an accounting fact. So QuickBooks is trying to help us. We don't want the help right now, so we're going to override their help. We want to put that as the debit of $27.94 that we wrote down already, and that's the refund. Let me pull this out so you can see. Now let's do our shipping income. So Amazon shipping credits, and we had written down that that was $11.81. Now let's do our promotional rebates. Actually, let's do gift wrap. That was 0, but let's do it just so you kind of see it in the entry. That was 0, but most likely it would be a credit if you have it. Let's do promotional rebates. In our case, this was a debit of $582. And then we had other. And that was a credit of $939. Now we're going to move on to our expenses. We had shipping expense that we wanted to break out of $208.62. And we had advertising expenses that we wanted to break out of $27.38. And then we had just all those other selling fees. If you want to break them out by line, you certainly can. It's not necessary. That was $808.72. So now we're going to let QuickBooks help us. We want to know the difference between our debits and our credits. And the difference is going to go to Amazon Holding, that account we already created. So we let QuickBooks do the work for us. If they don't, or if you need to calculate it, just add up your credits minus your debits, and the difference is going to go to Amazon Holding. Sometimes Amazon Holding, the balance needed will be over in this column. Not very often, but it could be. And that's fine. Whatever column Amazon Holding needs to be in order for your entry to balance, that's fine. That's what you want. And now we're going to hit Save and Close. I want to make sure that's January. Yep. Okay, so now let's take a look at how it all works together. We're going to come up here and hit Go to Register. And we're going to find our Amazon Holding register by using that arrow. Okay. So here is our one big deposit we had from Amazon. These are some other previous months that I had recorded. So we're going to kind of ignore these. But this is the one deposit that we had in the month of January from Amazon that we recorded that to Amazon Holding. And then this is our big entry that we recorded for the month. You could have a couple of different deposits from Amazon. And this basically represents the ending balance still sitting with Amazon. You remember that we talked about how money sits at Amazon for a while before they deposit it into your bank account. So there's always going to be that lag. There's always some money of yours that's sitting at Amazon. And that's what this represents right here. So if we wanted to see if that number was kind of close, you could go to here. This is the payments area. I don't think it's statement view. Oh, it is statement view. And you could go back in time. So we don't even have January of 2020 here because I'm combining this Amazon homepage with a different Amazon report for our example here. But you could go back in time and let's say you had done an entry as of April 28th of 2019. And you could use this report to say, okay, Amazon says my closing balance, the amount of money that's still sitting there is $22.80. And if your journal entry is as of the end of April, you could kind of see, okay, is it about $22.80 that's sitting there with Amazon Holding? Oh, yes, it is. Okay, great. So that's kind of one check or balance you could do. But it's a little tricky to check for sure. This is different than Etsy. Etsy you can check to the penny if you agree, because the dates don't always line up with the end of the month. But just know that this money represents the amount of money still sitting at Amazon at the end of the month. So let's see how this looks on some reports, some profit and loss statements. So we're going to go to reports. We're going to go to profit and loss. And we'll do for this year, there's nothing else really included in this report because it's my sample. Okay, and yeah, we just have Amazon in here. Okay, so we've got our profit and loss for the year. Remember, our entry was for January. And you can see how our numbers work together. So we've got the $3,000 in sales, total Amazon income after we add everything else. Then below here, we have our Amazon selling expenses. And let's compare this to what Amazon reported on their monthly summary. So we've got 3342 and 1044. 3342 and 1044. So this is what Amazon says. This was your income and these were your expenses for the month of January. And you can see that with this method, what we end up with is it exactly ties. We have exactly tied our profit and loss to what Amazon says. And then when you go to get your 1099 at the end of the year, you're still going to exactly tie to Amazon. And it's so nice and simple. Let's take a look at our balance sheet. So if we go to reports, balance sheet, here is our Amazon holding account. So that would be as of, in this case, it's showing as of April 30th. It doesn't matter in our example. This is the amount of money still sitting in Amazon. So we have it listed with our bank accounts. Sometimes I call it like Amazon Bank. If you've watched my Etsy video, I call it Etsy Bank. But calling it Amazon Holding is fine. You could call it Amazon Receivable. It doesn't matter what it is, but this represents the amount of money still sitting at Amazon at the end of the month. It's still waiting to be deposited to you. Okay, so let's go over the steps again really quickly, and I hope you can wrap your head around what we're doing. Instead of worrying about recording the deposits when they get deposited as sales and fees, it's all mushed together. It would be really difficult for us if we're on the banking. Let me find another Amazon deposit. Let me scroll down. I know there's some down here. Okay. There's no report in Amazon that says, with all that detail breakdown that we need, there's a little bit of breakdown here, but it's not everything that we need in order to easily tie out to our 1099. There's no report in Amazon that says, okay, these were exactly your sales. These were exactly your fees. And so that's how you can split up that deposit. So instead of doing that, we're just taking all of our deposits and we're moving them to this holding account. So that's why we're going to call it Amazon Holding or Amazon Bank or Amazon Receivable. We're just moving everything there. So we're going to add that when we're doing our bank feed process. So that's really easy and really fast. And then if we take a look at our journal entry, our journal entry says, okay, here were our sales or our income, our items that like produced income, a little shipping credit, whatever. These were our expenses or things that lowered the amount of money we had available to deposit. So this column increased the amount of money we have available to be deposited. This column decreases it. The difference goes to Amazon Holding. And the reason why is because we put all of those deposits. This basically tells me for the month of January, Amazon could have deposited $2,298 to us. They could have done that, but they didn't. In this case, they only deposited $1,188.02. Okay? So if I, and this is getting a little convoluted, I'm going to undo some of those things that I deposited so that you can see. If I was starting with a fresh month, I think that'll be easier for you to see. Okay. Go to register. Not this register, Amazon holding. Oh, I had one more. I'm going to delete that so you can see it fresh. So like, let's say this was the first month of business that we ever had. There was that deposit. Amazon deposited $1,188.02. Okay? But the amount available to be deposited was $2,298.17. And that's what our journal entry, the Amazon holding amount at the end, represents. And so the amount waiting to be deposited, Amazon still would have sitting with them $1,110.15 waiting to be deposited at some later time. So, and by doing then the monthly journal entry, we exactly tie out our Amazon revenue and our Amazon fees. So that's the process. I got a little long-winded at the end here, I know, because a lot of people have trouble with the concept of recording deposits to Amazon holding and how it all works together. But hopefully you can see that with this method, there's no apps, no integrations. Our profit and loss exactly ties to Amazon and their summary that they provided. It's easy. It's one journal entry. Everything else gets, all the deposits get recorded to Amazon holding. It's just a lot of people are going to struggle with how this works together and what these numbers represent. So that's why I went a little long at the end. I hope my long-winded explanation might help you see how the pieces fit together a little bit more and why this method works. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I do a pretty good job of answering people. Don't email me separately. Leave a comment in the questions leave a question in the comments because then everyone can benefit from your question. This is the method I use for many of my bookkeeping clients that I serve every month. And I highly recommend it. It's not the only method, but it's the method I prefer. If this video has been helpful to you, I would so appreciate a like, a subscribe, a share, whatever you can do to show a little love. If this video has been helpful to you, I would appreciate it. Okay, and that's all for now. Hope you have a great day.